Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. I'm here again with the main man, Richie Moon. Richie, how are we doing?
I'm a bit warm, mate.
He's a bit warm. We've been going through hell and back today, guys, and we are blessed to be joined by the very, very, very interesting, very, very, very talented Mr. Will McClure from WJM Photography, who is now the official photographer for the Firefighters Podcast. I'll have you know. Will, how you doing, brother?
Awesome, mate. Yeah, really good. Yourself?
Fantastic. For anybody that has not met Will before, Will has gone through a whirlwind journey of personal development, and he's taken a lot of people along the journey with him. So we're going to talk about some of the dark and dangerous underworld past and how he has moved past that, shed some of the people that were around him, associated with some wonderful people that have supported his growth. He has reinvented himself. He's moving independent with his photography and now looking at how he sees life through the lens of his new business and his new life. Will, thank you for joining us, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, Rich, this is your first time meeting Will today, and we've been lucky enough to be able to do a little bit of sparring, and Will was already blown us away with some of the stuff that he's captured for us.
Yeah, what an experience. What did you think of the background you've had to work with in here today?
Yeah, looking at it today, it's given me a lot of ideas, a bit more inspiration, probably a new genre to work at. So, yeah, definitely.
That's one of the things, when you say genre there, that's been one of the things that's really differentiated you, because even as how long have we known each other now? Good 10 years or something crazy something like that. Yeah. And way back then, photography was only a hobby for you. And how long since it's really become an all-consuming passion?
I'd probably say about 2, maybe 3 years.
So what sort of stuff were you focusing on back then? Because something that really differentiates you now is you've done some Star Wars shoots, you've done some Battle of Britain shoots, you've done some stuff with us in the fire service, some fight stuff as well. Whereas a lot of people, you see them sticking in their lane, they're sticking to the weddings, they're sticking to the birthdays and all that sort of stuff. Why have you wanted to sort of go somewhere different?
So essentially, being a photographer, you're a visual artist, and I think a lot of photographers, they fall into this wedding category as a new thing to start off with photography, and they sort of stay in there. But moving forward, as a visual artist, it's sort of I'm not expressing myself through weddings, so I thought I'd take a bit more of a vivid approach and go into different areas and see where I come up with. Yeah,
I like what you're saying there, because through a photo, you're actually telling a story as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely.
So what's going through your mind then when you're taking this photo? How can you express to the people that are going to be viewing this photo? How do you get your story across? What are you looking for when you're looking through the lens?
So I think one photo that I've taken that would probably stand out to explain that was I was doing a World War II reenactment show. I wasn't doing the show, I was just there spectating. And one of the shots that I'd taken was of an American soldier who was a medic. And he's basically sat down with the light coming through the tree with the smoke covering the American flag. And he was just sort of like sat and distraught.
Yeah.
So it just told that story about, the in-depth of what that medic was going through sort of thing at that time. And it just tells a story through that. So it's all about finding them little nickels that can really make, pack a punch to the photo itself.
I was going to say that they always say a picture tells 1,000 words, because you've not always been in photography. So how old are you now?
34.
34. Yeah. So, so we're roughly the same age, and when you were at school, none of this was on your radar, because a lot of people who have perhaps had this passion for a long time have gone to media studies school, and their parents bought their first one when they were a very young kid. You've had a very, very different upbringing. Take us back to what things were like when you were at school.
Just a bit of a rough upbringing. Not too bad, to be fair, but with photography, I sort of stumbled at it when I went to college. I think it was about 18, so 26, 25 years ago.
Really? So when you were into college?
That's miles out.
That's what I was at. It doesn't matter. We're not mathematicians, but we get where you were at then. So you said about the different environment that you were in when you were growing up. So you and I, both from my past as well, and things that I've done and have made me into a better person today. Back then, you weren't in love with your education. You didn't necessarily see the value in it at the time. And even now, when my children are at school, sometimes I struggle to see what the method and the madness is. But you decided to step away from education and you went into a little bit of a dark place. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, I just started hanging around with the wrong crowd. I think I was too busy trying to be the cool guy, as opposed to thinking what was going to be happening in the future.
That was me. That was too.
Yeah,
so I know
exactly. Still trying to be cool, Rich.
I was trying then. I am cool now, Pete. That's the difference.
Do you know what the difference is? And I agree with you, Rich, is the thing there. Not just about yourself, but about everybody. I think we'll agree here as well, in that you have found a lot deeper relationships. You've got a lot older as you've stopped trying to be cool, and you've opened up more about yourself. Because back then, You were at times a bit outrageous. You were a little bit confrontational. You had a little bit of a violent background at times as well.
Yeah. Like I say, just got hanging around with the wrong crowd sort of thing, and obviously one thing led to another. As more time passed on, the deeper I went into things.
How deep did you get?
Just sort of drug dealing.
Okay. Was
Obviously
that a means to an end, or
as in,
was there a reason you felt you had to do that? Could you not support yourself any other means? Because everybody gets into that sort of environment for a different reason.
I think a lot of it was just because I was naive, young and stupid, basically. Like I say, hanging around with the wrong guys. They make you feel good. They tell you like they've got your back and all that. And so when you're that young age, you think, these guys are great. They've got my back. Loyalty's everything. And then as time passed on, that loyalty sort of faded. And then I started to learn minor lessons from that.
Was there any one moment where you saw that whole thing was a whole fallacy? Was there any moment when people pretended to have your back? And again, we never name names or anything on the Firefighters Podcast. It's all about your story. But a lot of people may be in that position now where they think, no, my boys are my boys. They've got me forever. Until, do you know what I mean? What was that moment for you where you started to step away from people? Okay, so one of the key moments that really stands out for me is someone close to me fell ill, and I realised that it was hurting them more than it was hurting me. So I sort of made a decision to say, like, okay, look, maybe you need to take a different approach to life. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. Mm-hmm. So when I told the people, that's it, guys, I'm doing my own thing. I'm branching off from you, sort of thing. Yeah. Everything was good. Apart from the select few, and these were the guys that were like, look, whatever happens, we've got your back. Yeah.
And why they just didn't want to know,
Yeah. So the second I was stopping making them profit, that was it.
I was about to say, that's it. Yeah. People can sometimes pretend they've got your best interests at heart, but when your interests and their interests overlap, certainly from a financial perspective, you've spoken there a little bit out about drug dealing and how that can lead into other avenues. These people, I'm assuming, listening to what you're saying there, were built around that profitable distribution network. Because you had built yourself into quite a cool position. Anybody sort of in the Leicestershire area may or may not remember you back then, and you were playing a key part in that, and you made it out alive, and some people didn't.
I'm so fortunate in so many ways. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like
you weren't
gangs of London or anything else like that. It was minor, petty street thug stuff, if you like. But it could have got dangerous at some points. It could have got dangerous.
Absolutely.
Especially with other people like my peers in particular. They sort of had that same mentality. Some more so, some less. Yeah. But you got these sort of guys that was like my postcode sort of thing. And
I'll bet.
And it was just like it's embarrassing to think about actually when you look back at it. To have that mentality and actually think like. But I was that guy.
As you sort of stepped away, as you said, that you started to recognise that it was an unhealthy environment to be part of, because there will be people listening to this who are right in that environment right now, and they will be petrified of doing exactly what you did. So you started to step away from these people. Some people initially supported you. I imagine some people quite passionately and perhaps violently said, well, you need to stay in your place. Who do you think you are? You're not better than us. Where do you think you're going? So how did you deal with that? Because
I think the biggest thing is you've got to make a sacrifice. You've got to make that sacrifice. There were some people that were sort of in them social circles that was hanging around with the time. There's like, great, good for you. Like, I hope, I wish you the best. Yeah. And then obviously, like I say, there was other guys who were like, what do you think you're doing? Yeah. So there was a big divide. Yeah. So it opened my eyes to actually who was my friend and who wasn't my friend. And also I learned a lot about the people that I hung around with before I was doing this. Yeah, they sort of distanced from me, and I didn't even realise. I was like, they're not on board. They don't understand. Like, they don't live by the code. Like, what even is the code?
The street code or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I sort of came away from that sort of lifestyle, these people started re-entering my life, and was just like, welcome back.
So, what are these people that you stepped away from? Are they still doing that sort of thing? I mean, what's their life like now?
Do you know what? It's been about 6-7 years since I've even been on that path sort of thing. I've not really kept in touch with any of them, so they're probably out doing their own thing.
I completely agree with you. We had a friend of ours on the podcast the other day, Matt, and he said something that really, really stuck with me. If anybody's heard it, he said that your new life will cost you your old life. Yeah, and definitely, that really 100%. Took me back to when I was taking lots of performance enhancers and. The performance enhancers, stuff like that, it's drugs at the end of the day, and the people that sell them also sell everything else. And I found myself in a similar position that my world was full of people that were in that You know, whether I was at the gym, whether I was at the place we would meet at the certain house where we would all get our needles and everything from. Everybody in my world was part of that. And I was unable to take any part of it with me when I decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore. I couldn't keep going to the same gym. I couldn't keep speaking to the same people because they were so fully immersed in it. And you really had to just burn the bridge.
Exactly.
And leave your entire old life.
It's all or nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. It is, yeah. And it really did. I mean, Matt said, you know, use the word cost you your old life. And I suppose it's right, you know, it does cost you it. But when you get over yourself, you're a happy price to pay. It can feel lonely at first. Because I mean,
definitely did.
You distanced yourself from school friends and stuff like that. And these people were your world. So when you first decided, I'm not going to do that anymore, because I imagine it was a form of income for you at that point in time.
Yeah, you know, so I've gone out every Thursday, Friday, well, whenever the pubs were open, I was out,
Ka-ching,
you know, I had
ka-ching.
money, and that was another factor, you know, people want to hang around with you because obviously, you know, you're supplying. And
you're the man
exactly,
to know.
You've got a bit of cash in your pocket, blah, blah, blah.
And also it defined who you were.
Yeah.
So what did you go on to next? Because you needed to still provide for yourself, you needed to, and photography hadn't taken off in the way that you're doing it now.
So when I decided I was going to walk away from all this, it was a bit of a no man's land. I didn't really know what to expect. I just sort of jumped off a cliff and just, you know, hope for the best.
Grow wings on the way down.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, see where I end up. So I started hanging around with like my old friends from school, and obviously they were talking to me about how they felt about the path that I took and stuff like that. And you know, again, that was another eye opener because obviously I was that narrow minded that I wasn't willing to listen to what they had to say before. But
I think that's around the time you and I reconnected, probably.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just learning to surround yourself with people that are good for you naturally. You know, again, it's about making that sacrifice. It's about walking away from that circle. And like I said before, you know, when you're in that mindset, and you know, your peer pressure is sort of like, you know, you're the boy, you know, I've got your back, and all the rest of it. And then, you know, when shit hits fan, it's not the case.
What was your mentality like when you decided to walk away? Was it, I'm going to go try and do this, and if it doesn't work, I'll go back to my old life? Or was it, no matter what happens, I'm going this way, that's, you know, it's miles behind me now, and this is what I'm going to do? Or was it always a little bit in your mind, you might go back if this don't work out?
If I'm going to be honest, obviously, because I've known people that had, you know, come off the drugs and tried a new life, and obviously they relapsed and gone back onto the drugs and that lifestyle. So if I'm going to be blunt about it, I don't actually know. I just thought I'd give it a go and just see how I got on with it.
But it's gone for the better, clearly, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm very fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate.
So as a photographer then, do you always have your camera everywhere you go, or do you feel a bit unlucky if you're somewhere and you think that could be a great shot and you haven't got your camera with you?
Yeah. There has been moments when I've like deliberately like, oh, I can't be bothered to take my camera out today, and I've gone out somewhere and it's been like an absolute golden shot, and I'm kicking myself.
Well, I suppose it turns like a 10-minute walk into an hour-long walk. When
definitely.
Because I know you're a perfectionist as well, and you always want, you know, when I've done stuff with you before, and you're like, no, let's go again. Let me just do this. Let me change that. Let me change that. And
it's got to be right. It's got to be right.
But that's what's given you the sort of persona and the credibility that you have now. Having the passion and the dedication to really get the best out of somebody, and also your ability to build rapport. That's the thing that initially brought me so closely to you.
I've been quite fortunate. I mean, this is again, you know, resulting to the flip side. You know, so when I was younger and I was like, oh yeah, you're the boy. You know, you've got 10 back. No. Yeah. Whereas now I'm walking down the street, you know, people are stopping me saying, oh, I'm really pleased what you're doing with your photography, you know, you're doing great, and it's about hearing them positive feedbacks as well. I think
it's a good buzz as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, because it gives you that satisfaction. I think, like, to be successful, I think the first ingredient you need is to believe in yourself. It's that self-belief. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, you're always going to have those days where you doubt yourself, where you have them pessimistic thoughts, where you decide to procrastinate. It's natural, it's human nature, and it's about overcoming that and just thinking, you know what, actually no, I'm not going to bow to this, I'm actually going to go out and achieve something today. So,
we all like to be praised, don't we?
Yeah.
So when you get told you're doing something good, it makes you want to do it more. And
of course. It gives you that bit of engines, you know, just want to do more. Yeah.
Now we spoke about education earlier. As human beings, we're always just trying to better ourselves every single day. Yeah. How do you educate yourself through photography? So how are you trying to make yourself better each day? Is it to do with the technical side, or is it more?
Okay, so I mean, obviously I've been doing it professionally for a couple of years. Started off with the weddings and family shoots, and that was pretty much all I was doing, so that's all I was learning, if that makes sense. So when I decided to come away from weddings, that opened a new era. So you know, doing like sort of glamour shoots, doing the World War II reenactments and so on and so forth. So obviously with each shoot requires different editing techniques. And with editing, there's always new ways to edit, better ways to edit, to improve your skill sets.
So like on a weekly, monthly basis, something new coming out all the time.
Yeah, totally. So I'm in the stage now. Again, I'm in that no man's land because I came away from weddings, and I'm concentrating more and more on portfolio, headshots, portraits, all that sort of stuff. With that, again, you get to meet new and wonderful people. It's just a great experience meeting new people from different walks of life, you know, especially actors. They're a crazy bunch.
And each one of those individuals almost unlocks a new entire area for you, because it's exactly what you're talking about with that value of association, surrounding yourself with those people, and knowing that just the sheer act of doing that, being in an environment like we are today, listening, learning new things, and what that individual's involved in, not in a selfish like, what can I take from this, what can I take from this. A lot of what you've done, because you've done a lot of free photography work as well for some people.
So starting off, obviously, you know, doing a lot for free. A, I got to learn about stuff. And B, I learned how to communicate with people on, you know, from different walks of life. And that's one of the biggest rewarding things, meeting new people. Obviously, you get an opportunity to speak to these people and, you know, learn about how the struggles they've gone through and how they've developed, you know, and how can you apply that to yourself and, you know, transaction that conversation as well. So I
think a lot of the success you've had from conversations we've had before is focusing on delivering value first. And then getting an outcome after it. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people won't go somewhere unless there's a guaranteed pay, unless there's a guaranteed opportunity. And I know you've had conversations with other photographers nationally and locally who have said, well, how did you hear about that? How did you do this? How did you do that? And a lot of the time for you, it's been, I went without an expectation. I went sincerely to add value and to, you know, join them in that opportunity. And it's amazing to see what's unfolded after that and how you've positioned yourself now.
So I guess that's sort of the rapport, the persona that I've sort of built for myself. Yes, my passion is in photography. You know, so when I'm working with a client, yes, I'm there to, you know, produce some quality work, but it's also looking after that client. You know, listen to what they've got to say, hearing their input, and, you know, like you were mentioning before about telling the story. So if you have that conversation with the client, you get a bit of an image in your head before you've even taken the photo. So it just helps you just get that little bit more out of the photo that you're initially going to take.
Now, a lot of people listening to this will go, I think I know Will. Isn't he the guy with the German Shepherd? And they will mention a little bit of that. So everybody that's known Will, and other people that are hearing the name might know him as Jungle as well, was a name that Will was known for a long time.
I'm intrigued.
And he has a beautiful puppy that I've known since the day you got him. Sadly, he left us recently. But tell us about how much of a role he played in your life, because he's been your rock. He was your constant.
Massive.
And I know people that I didn't know knew you reduced to tears when they heard of the news.
He was sort of like came into my life at a stage where I was going through that transaction period of walking away and trying to sort myself out and stuff like that. And so basically it just got into a routine of, like, you know, Friday, Saturday night come out. I couldn't really go out because all my mates were sort of like stood around someone's kitchen, like just getting off it, and obviously like that was the direction that was not going into. So it was just like spend time with the dog.
You needed him to the focus.
I needed a focus point, and he just sort of came. Definitely, 100%. Like he came into my life, and it just sort of like took over because I had a responsibility then as well. You know, like he relied on me for everything.
You weren't just doing it for you anymore.
Exactly. You know, and some people say, like, you know, it's just a dog, blah blah blah, but it actually a dog can provide you with, you know, a lot of things that humans can't, like the loyalty and, you know, what they need from you and sort of thing. You know, you have to be consistent with it.
A lot of people getting into fitness and stuff, if they've got a dog, it provides fantastic structure for them. People always see you out and about in town. You know, when you're always walking in the morning, walking in the evening, giving yourself that discipline. And it's as silly as it may sound, it's accountability. People think of accountability as to another person, but when you look at the end of the sofa and he's sat there, head between his feet, and he glances at you and he glances at the door, and you're like, yeah, you know what? We both should. We both should go out. We should get out there.
And you know what? It was so refreshing as well. And again, going back to this loyalty thing, you know, when you're in that mindset and you hang around with these people, like loyalty, it's actually a fake word. It's a very, very fake word. You know, and back in sort of like, because obviously I was sort of questioning a lot of things about, you know, what the hell was that about? Like, you know, these people, like my friends, no, they weren't. You know, and this dog, you know, Bracken, bless him. Loyalty was a pure word. There's no more pure word than loyalty.
A lot of people use it as a buzzword these days.
It's like,
you know,
it's just
it's used too freely.
It
is. I think because a lot of people have not had to face some of the challenges that we've all faced our own challenges, and I'm not. There's no one-upmanship. No one's challenges are better than anybody else's. But the perception of what people need, what people want, and what is a challenge versus what is just a discomfort. you alienate yourself from everybody that was around you, having to disconnect from all your social circle, having to move away from what was at the time a sustainable income, having very little to no qualifications behind you, literally burning that flame on self-belief, and the talent that you were trying to grow.
Yeah, so I just, I was looking around at a lot of my friends, past friends at that time, and I just come to realise, where are you going to be in 10 years' time? Which leads me to my next question. Where am I going to be in 10 years' time? And I thought, something's definitely got to change. There's got to be more to this. Yeah. There's got to be more to this. And, you're looking at some of the people that are living on the state, 50 plus, and they've got nothing to show for it. And I just couldn't justify that in my own way of thinking, and I think the way I think today, I think back then, it was always that way of thinking that was there. I just needed to access it, if that makes sense.
So it wasn't a case that you coming out of it wasn't an easy thing because you didn't have a big rich family that you were going to fall back on. Your parents weren't there. You've lived by yourself now for quite a number of years.
Yeah, I think 8 years on my own sort of thing. Yeah.
8 years, so your dark moments have had to be faced alone at times.
Don't get me wrong. I've been very fortunate. I have had good people in my life that I've known from before the trouble sort of thing, and I reconnected with them afterwards. And so I have been fortunate in a lot of ways. I'm very, very grateful for the people that I have in my life today. Yeah. There was a time when I'd pushed them away, and they still welcome me back with open arms, and that's the sort of loyalty that I'm talking about. That's a big thing.
Absolutely. So what are we going to build to next with this photography? Because this year, before we had all of the COVID nonsense, this year was really the year you're looking to level up. You had some good exposure, some good sort of income and business growth with the weddings and stuff last year. But as people have probably been seeing on your social media platforms and stuff like that, you've been doing some fantastically daring, what a lot of photographers wouldn't bother doing, some controversial photography. And you've also had some acknowledgement from people quite high up from the modelling industry who have recognised your talent, and you've started having some creative conversations.
So basically when I first started the photography, I thought, just dabble with it, see where I go with it. And obviously it started off with little family shoots, working for free, pets and animals and all that sort of stuff. And then I thought, you know what, actually, let's go a little bit further, just see where we end up here. And then I started going into weddings. Yeah. I'd done weddings for a couple of years, and I was like, it's not really for me. So it put me in a bit of a grey area. So I started dabbling around with other genres of photography. And so I thought, you know what, why not? Let's just go all the way. Yeah. In it to win it. Yeah, definitely.
So what's your proudest moment to date then with your photography? What's the one that you'd say it's right up there?
Oh, it's a tricky one.
Come on, give it to me.
Okay, so basically I did a photo shoot for a guy that was unfortunately terminal. Okay. And his family wanted the photos pending after that. Yeah. Just giving them that something. Obviously they tried to pay me for it, and I physically couldn't take the money because the profit was I'd given them something that they could cherish. Yeah. And I think that's probably the proudest moment, and that's one of the powerful things about photography. You can give them something that they can hold on forever. Yeah.
You're capturing that moment in time. Yeah. That is going to last forever.
Exactly. And as unfortunate as the situation was, the realistic side of it was, unfortunately, he was, going to come to pass. So to be able to meet the person and interact and learn a little bit and take the photo, and then obviously when I'd given the photos, I just knew that the next time I heard his name, that I'd given them something that they could look at to reminisce.
Yeah, well, amazing.
Now I want to ask you quickly about your other work. So you've been working in the labouring industry for quite some time now, enjoying parts of it, hating parts of it, but I know the bits that you've loved most are the friendships that you've gained there, and you've sort of developed a little bit of a persona, conversations we've had before as, Will the motivational guy, for not necessarily, obviously Will the photographer, but not necessarily Will the photographer, it's Will the go-to guy, the guy with the answers, the guy with the motivation, the guy that shows up with that optimism. Where's that come from?
Okay, so along the way going through the photography, I've been listening to motivational quotes and videos and all that sort of stuff. I religiously listen to them and I apply them to my own situation and how I can develop on that moving forward. And then obviously working through construction, you get to meet a varied kind of people.
It's a tough industry.
It's a very tough industry.
Has some big characters in it.
Oh God, definitely. And obviously I'm a bit standout as to the rest of them because I'm not all about beer in football.
No. And you're not a yes man either.
No, exactly. I'm not a yes man either. And so obviously the banter was always limited, so I had to come in at a different angle to try and blend in with the guys. They gave me some hammer along the way. So.
Yeah. But you've also stood up for the little guy many a time. From our days at school, you've seen bullying firsthand. Yeah, you've probably been on both sides of it as well, through some good reasons and some bad reasons. You've seen the error of your ways, and now you've really empowered yourself to be out there and be like the sort of Black Knight defender kind of guy. I've seen a few examples where you've
when I was younger,
looked after people.
I don't know. So I managed to like sort of get a bit of a reputation for a bit of brawler, but it actually wasn't the case. I've never really seen myself as physically violent and going around and beating people up for no reason. But likewise, I have been a victim of bullying. Yeah. So I know how it feels. But I got to a position where I could actually challenge bullies that were picking on, the small guy, if you like to call it that. Yeah, so definitely. And it's
not always necessarily physically, just through your ability to articulate well and your overwhelming confidence, because you've been seeing there a lot of these things that other people necessarily haven't. So you've been to a different place in life. Yeah, and it gives you a different approach when you're dealing with those sort of...
Oh, God, yeah, it woke me up so much, I just don't believe that anybody has the right to look down on another individual for no given reason whatsoever. And it's just something that it's one of my self-beliefs that I feel that I have to stand by.
Yeah.
If it's not worth standing by, it's not worth believing.
I love that, brother. Now let's talk physical for a minute, because obviously we're on audio today, so people won't see the specimen that is sat before me.
Yeah. Okay.
But, in the Firefighters podcast, obviously Rich and I are from sort of a fitness industry. You've gone through a bit of a fitness transformation yourself in this past 6 months, 12 months. We've talked about your training a lot, you and I privately. What's been going on, brother? Because something's happened.
So I've always sort of dabbled with the training on and off. I can't really say that I've been persistent or consistent with it. So I just went for a bit of a break up there, and I thought, okay, so what we're going to do next? Let's go for the gym. I'm on the roll. The photography's going good.
Yeah.
Let's just try and get into a bit of fitness, learn a bit about nutrition, and then 4 stone shredded off, and I
was
felt
about
great.
to say, don't go underselling yourself, because 4 stone is a lot of weight.
Yeah, it's a huge achievement. I felt great for it.
And you look fantastic for it. How have you felt that change in energy? Because before, the mind was there before. You had that optimism, you had that drive, but physically you weren't doing yourself that justice. Mm-hmm. You change gears now. How has it felt differently getting around? People interacting differently with you?
Massively. So obviously it's boosted my confidence and how I see myself. So obviously it's boosted my confidence how I think other people see me as well. So it just gives me that encouragement to do more, to want out to go and do more.
I see it in your posture and the way you talk to people as well.
It's just an all-rounder really. I feel more optimistic about going out and meeting people and doing new things. Whereas the weight sort of didn't really hold me back as such, but it was always like a subconscious barrier. Yes. If that makes sense. So all I've done is eliminate that barrier. So I just freed myself up.
I mean, you're not sitting here in Lycra today, but you used to wear, you used to wear the big baggy, you're not all tight t-shirt idiot like me.
Yeah. So I would hide it with
you were always hiding it a little bit, and we haven't got to go into detail, but I know it's been getting you some attention from other places as well. And that's a healthy thing. He's a young, handsome man. Rich, control yourself, brother.
I might have something to say about this.
So as we move forward now, we're going to move out of COVID. What are people going to see next for Will? Because I know a lot of people have spoke to me when I said we were coming on the show, and they said, oh yeah, I've seen his thing on Instagram, I've seen his thing on Facebook, I really like his thing, he did a shoot for a friend of mine. But at this moment in time, they've no ability to access the incredible visual library that is Will. I know we were speaking on our way over. This is going to be something that's coming hopefully at some point in the future where people are going to get to see really officially online or something like that what you've had to offer, and you're going to do that big uncovering.
Yeah, so my goals have just got massive.
Hit us with
way beyond my own ambition. So all the more reason to go for it. If David Attenborough wants me to go to Africa to shoot lions, I'm game. I'm there. I'm already there. And why not? Why shouldn't I be able to do it?
Absolutely, man.
Who's to tell me that I can't do it? So I'm going to go for that. Obviously, I'm going to go for the bigger clients as well. So starting off with like small local businesses and stuff. I'm just going to make myself a bit of a nuisance, really. I'm going to pester people to give me work.
Just keep knocking on those doors.
Yeah, exactly. And again, because I've sort of like changed direction, I'm going to have to really drop the price down, do probably a couple for free, just get the portfolio up.
Yeah.
Again, starting with the small businesses, working my way up. Locally, look after the local businesses first, and then we'll start branching out into the bigger corporations, doing the headshots for them. If it's commercial work that they want, go for it. Let's do it. Let's do
So
it.
if for some unknown reason somebody's not heard of you, what's your Instagram handle? How can people see what you've got on offer and really, familiarize themselves with the talent that is Mr. McClure?
Okay, so I'm currently looking forward to trying to get a website up and running, so that will obviously give me a wider range to advertise. Obviously, I've not got LinkedIn yet. I mean, why I haven't got LinkedIn yet, I don't know. So
I've got it, but I barely use it, to be honest. I think for the visuals,
LinkedIn's good for it's good for networking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but I think-
it would suit you.
Yeah,
It would be
yeah,
good for you.
definitely. And I think like learning, I'm quite a collaborator as well. I like working with other photographers. I like
Okay.
seeing how they do things as
Mhm.
well. And also with Instagram, just keep growing and progressing. Just keep going. That's my motto. Just keep going. Definitely.
So you mentioned traveling. David Attenborough shooting lions.
yeah.
Just made me think. Actually, I was supposed to be on holiday, but lockdown obviously cancelled it. But
Yeah.
whenever I go away anywhere, as a martial artist, I always take my boxing gloves and some pads.
Okay.
It's something I've always done because when I'm in these places, I like to visit other gyms.
Yeah.
So as a photographer, if you're going on holiday or traveling, what equipment would you take with you? What's your go-to that you have to take that everywhere you go?
Oh god, a transit van and all my lights and everything. No, I've obviously just take the camera. Obviously, depending where I'm going, depends on what lens I'm going to take with me. So another interest of mine is probably subcultures around the world.
Okay.
So, for example, if I'm going to Samoa, Polynesian island, I'd be taking my portrait stuff more than anything else, landscape. Yeah.
So for anybody that's not into photography or that they've just started out on their journey, what has been your biggest lesson that's taken you to the skill set that you've got now? Because some people just go out and start spending lots of money on some really expensive stuff. But if somebody came to you and said, Will, I want to start doing a little bit more photography, have you got any advice for me? What advice would you give to them?
Self-belief.
Self-belief.
All day long, self-belief.
Yeah.
I think with photography, because there's so many genres, I think you have to give it time to find out what your field of interest is.
Okay.
So I'd say start small. Don't go out and spend £1,000 on a camera if you're only going to use it for a month.
Yeah.
Buy yourself a small DSLR. Start small, kit lens. It's not about producing the quality images to start off with.
Yeah.
It's about having an eye for it, and if you like it,
Yeah. So volume, just take lots and just keep going for it and see what fits for you.
Just slowly adapt. Like, don't try and take too much on board at one time.
Yeah.
Like myself, I'm still developing, I'm still learning, and I'm still in second gear. There's 3 more to go yet.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for a few years, and obviously I've hit a couple of milestones in them 2 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, self-belief
Self-belief.
and consistency. You've got to be consistent and patient more than anything else.
Consistency is going to have to be the closing one for today, because everything, especially for Rich in his martial arts, but even for myself when I'm working with clients, there's no such thing as one perfect day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if every day
definitely.
you lived was only at 70%, then just try and dial it up 1% every single day. Don't go for a 100% day and then live the next 6 at 10%.
Exactly.
It's consistency. The amount of time you go spend away editing and stuff like that. It's not all sexy. It's not all interesting.
Exactly.
Exciting.
Yeah. And I think another thing to add on to the advice is don't be scared of failure.
Yeah.
100%,
It's okay to fail. Like,
Yeah.
people look at this thing like failure. Oh, you've let yourself down. Well, actually, no. Failure isn't when you don't get it right. It's when you stop trying.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I think as long as people remember that, I think you've got a better chance. Like, fail your way to success.
Exactly.
part of the journey.
You learn a lot more from failing, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, exactly.
We've had this
Exactly.
conversation several times, but
Absolutely.
failure breeds champions, I believe.
Yeah. Failure is, people look at it as a negative. Well, actually, no. If you have the ability to turn a negative into a positive, you're already halfway there, whatever the situation is.
Absolutely. And we're so thankful for everybody that listens to this, but for all the lovely quotes and all the lovely compliments that we get for this, there's no mistake. Rich and I get people who say, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to go and do that and to reach other people? People forget that the power of the Firefighters Podcast is in what you've shared with us today, Will. It's in giving somebody a platform that anybody that doesn't know me or doesn't know Rich may connect with your story today. The challenges you've gone through, the losses, the failures, the distancing from people, and only after you've been through all of those has it allowed you to start experiencing the successes that you're now.
Yeah,
and the doors have started opening to you now.
Exactly. And with each success, another door opens. I'm already looking for the next door.
Beautiful.
That door's already open. Okay, so it's irrelevant now. It's open. Like, I've walked through it. So where's the next door?
Love that.
It's
Love
all about
that, brother.
mindset. Just keep going. Hashtag just keep going.
Just keep going, baby.
Spread the love.
Will, thank you very much, brother. I know you and I certainly, and hopefully the three of us are going to have so many more adventures to come. Thank you for coming in today. Thank you for sharing some time
It's been
with
an
us.
absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Will.
Thank
See
you
you
for
soon,
having me.
brother.
Oh, great, mate.
Thanks for checking out the Firefighters Podcast this week. Make sure you check out the YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram pages, keeping yourself up to date with the latest podcast as it comes out. We'll see you guys soon. How to get firefighter fit in 30 days. Rich, who is this course for?
This course is for people who want to generally change their lives. We are going to educate, we're going to inspire, and we're going to motivate people. We're going to take people to a place where it's easy to understand. We're going to give them a step-by-step guide, and we're going to transform people's lives.
Absolutely. You heard it here first, folks. So if you have ever lost that confidence, if you don't feel brave enough to step back out onto that gym floor, and you don't even want to think about attending that class, then this course is for you. This course is going to empower you with the skills, knowledge, and mental leverage to then lead yourself through easy to follow everyday workouts straight off the back of this 30-day course.
We promise to educate you, inspire, and motivate you. We're going to take you to a place where you're going to see amazing body transformation, both physically and mentally.
We've got every single corner covered. In this course, you will find your workouts, you'll find your warm-ups, you will find your stretching. You'll know how to track your own measurements so that as you improve, you can physically see the change in your body. This is pitched at the absolute beginner, so no matter if you've never stepped foot in the gym before, you can complete this course.